everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. We welcome you. This is Pastor John Woodin with Hollywood Faith Christian Center, and this is one of our ministries here, is this outreach. And we want to continue with what we started yesterday with talking about the election process. Today we're going to look a little bit about historical reference, because there's lots of misinformation. There are lots of people who will tell you stories, lots of people who tell you that this was not a Christian nation. That is not true. The historical reference from the very, very beginning was based upon God's input and being here to worship. In fact, most of the people that came here in the early days of this country came for religious freedom, because in Europe that was not possible. We'll start with the Mayflower. In 1620, the Mayflower Compact, the Pilgrims covenanted with each other and with God for this nation. They didn't even know where they were. They actually thought they were in Virginia and landed in Massachusetts, which would become Massachusetts, but in the end of the day, they covenanted for all of America. They covenanted with all. They made a deal and said, look, we need you, you need us, we're going to work together. 10 years later, in 1630, John Winthrop, he's the governor of Massachusetts, a Puritan, and he wrote from the ship, the Arabella, the model of Christian charity. Now, those of you who know your history know that Ronald Reagan, President Reagan, used that to reference the city on a hill, which is directly out of Winthrop's sermon. There stands a cause between God and us, he wrote. We are entered into covenant with him for this work. We have taken out a commission. The Lord has given us leave to draw our own articles. We have professed to enterprise these and those accounts upon these and those ends. He has ratified this covenant and sealed our commission. Wow. And will expect a strict performance of these articles. And he continues down later on in the message, and he says, for we must consider that we shall be as a city upon a hill. The eyes of all people are upon us, so that if we shall deal falsely with our God in this work that we have undertaken, and so cause him to withdraw his present help from us, we shall be made a story and a byword throughout the world. And we shall open the mouths of enemies to speak evil of the ways of God and all professors for God's sake. Now, so he's saying if we fail, it's because we failed, not God failed. And that we have to show up and we have to work hard to make sure that it is fulfilled, what God has given us and what he has sealed over us as a nation. And this is in the earliest days. And I'm going to read from George Washington's farewell address in 1796 when he's leaving the presidency, and he writes this, and let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion, whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on minds of peculiar structure. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. Wow. We know the history, and in fact, President Rutherford Hayes was a devout Christian, in fact served no liquor in the White House during his 4 years in office. And James Garfield, who was elected in 1880, was actually an ordained minister before he went into the political world. In 2016, the Civil Rights Commission in Washington just issued a 300-page report that basically said religious principles were thinly veiled discrimination and must be changed in terms of homosexual marriage. Wow, the government is amassing lists of people who disagree with the government's position on issues. Religious liberty is at stake, and it's on the ballot whether you realize it or not, because it matters. Now, we have two candidates for the presidency, former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, and they're running for president. But they're not running to succeed Mother Teresa and become living saints. Both are flawed. So get over that and move beyond it, that you don't like this one because of this, and you don't like that one because of her background, and you don't like this because you're not going to find perfect people. God often used imperfect people to accomplish. He used Rahab the harlot to deliver and protect the spies in Jericho, and he also used Cyrus, a pagan king, to accomplish his purposes. So don't think that God is not aware of the frailties and flaws of these candidates. He is. In 2017, President Trump said this in the Rose Garden of the White House: "Faith is deeply embedded into the history of our country, the spirit of our founding, and the soul of our nation." Trump said in the Rose Garden at National Day of Prayer event with religious leaders and the White House staff, "We will not allow people of faith to be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore." Now, Ms. Harris, Vice President Harris, said this: "The freedom to worship is one of the nation's most fundamental rights," she said in 2019. "The First Amendment guarantees should never be used to undermine other Americans' civil rights or subject them to discrimination on the basis of race, gender, sexual orientation, or gender identity." In other words, Harris supports religion within the church building, but not so much outside its walls. God's agenda cares about abortion. Abortion is murder. The gay agenda, religious liberty, and Israel. We must remember abortion, Jeremiah 1:5, and Psalm 139:19. The homosexual agenda, Romans 1:27, religious liberty, and of course Israel, we're going to talk about tomorrow. So God bless you, and I hope this is